Welcome to the first live stream of 2023. I've been meaning to do a live streams for quite a while, but never gotten the time to do a sort of periodic live stream. So this is my first attempt at doing so, and this is the first episode. Today I wanted to talk about few topics that I had in mind, and I've decided that we're going to be keeping this live stream sort of limited to 45 or 60 minutes. But later on, it's if we have more time, we could probably definitely extend it. So I hope I have given sufficient time for people to join in. But yeah, let's get started. So first sort of topic that I wanted to discuss was if you're starting out your coding journey, how you would sort of decide projects that you want to make to kind of improve your resume, so to speak. Also, I'm monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions, feel free to put those in, and periodically I'll reply to those as well. So I've seen this on both my LinkedIn DMs and on this post that I did on YouTube about what sort of content makes sense for sort of a coding audience. Um, Even though I sort of believe that I've gotten to a point where I want to make more more advanced content, um, as it's sort of difficult to find it online. So what I see is people who are more senior in tech, they tend to do the thing that they're good at, but not a lot of them are sharing that sort of knowledge, which is more important. Um, and you can find a lot of topics on the internet about how to get started with coding, what sort of projects that you want to build. But I still want to cover them because I know how difficult it was, at least for me, because I started with I started learning programming by myself, but it was also a course on my college. But now things have changed and people do learn coding entirely by themselves. So that's very difficult to sort of navigate. So my suggestion would be at the bare minimum, make one website where you can update any other project that you're going to make. So it's like a portfolio website, and that is going to be your one project which is going to evolve for the longest period of time. I've had one since I think 4 or 5 years back. Uh, it was deployed with GitHub pages, and it still is. But I used to use the username.github.io website link. Over the years, I've updated it to sort of improve its UI, even though I'm still learning CSS. But yeah, now I have a sort of a custom domain that I've attached onto it, and it's really cheap. It's like, I think there was a deal going on for around 1,000 or 1,200 rupees, which is like 15-ish dollars, not less than that. And I've had it for almost 3-4 years, and still a couple more years remaining. So that's one project that you want to build, and that'll give you an idea of sort of getting around how you can make a front end project. And you can decide if you want to go fully native, just make a HTML CSS project, which is pretty easy to learn and probably one of the most important parts of learning front end. Learn no framework, no extra libraries, just pure HTML and CSS and JavaScript. That is definitely few things that you want to tick off in your coding journey. So learn that, make a simple website. It doesn't have to be fancy at all. And then slowly evolve towards a framework or library which you are going to use in your day-to-day life. So what I mean is, let's say you have a website now with HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and now you're starting off on a project which potentially will use React. So that means you could use React on your own website, and that'll help you learn more things along the way. I'm not necessarily saying you should use React, because I probably wouldn't, and I haven't. I have used Svelte for all my websites, but if you want to use, or you can use whatever framework you want. So based on that, whatever you're going to use in your work or in any other project, try to get that into your own personal project, and that will give you more flexibility to try out new things. So that's one. So portfolio website is one. The other sort of other projects that you want to build is going to be, it's good to create projects that will help you in other aspects of life. Um, Even if you want to just try out a framework, you can definitely keep it simple. Just make a to-do app, which I have done a lot of times, um, with various frameworks, and that also gives you an idea of how different frameworks or different programming languages will fit into a very simple, straightforward app. But ideally, if you want to build projects that you want to show off in your CV, build something that is going to help you. And the reason I say that is because that also gives you that sort of pride when you use it, right? I have this CLI tool that I use to open a Git repository. Um, to open a Git repository when I run a specific command on the CLI. Let me quickly show it to you. So let's open up my terminal here. Let me bring that in. Cool. And it's available on npm.js. So it's this one, git remote to URL, this one. And whenever you run it on any directory, which is a git directory, it will give you the URL. So now what I can do is, I think I already have it installed, and it has an alias as well, which is grtu. And what I do is I do open, which opens the right applications for the sort of link that you provide, the URI that you provide. So here, if I do grtu dot, it'll open the browser. So let's do that. So, and I've been using this for almost 5 years now, and I really take pride in making such. This is very small, very easy to do. This is built in Node.js, and this gives you that uh, sort of also a real life example, right? It's not like you have built a to-do app, but it's highly unlikely that you're going to use that to-do app in your day-to-day life. So build projects that you're going to use, and this will slowly evolve from like a very small CLI app to something like a library that you can use in other projects, to a website, to a fully complex application, right? That's what payobills is for me now, because I want to learn Kubernetes, I want to learn cloud agnostic tools. That's why I've chosen payobills, which I've talked about here and there, but it's basically an app to it's a microservices based architecture app where what I want to do is I just want to put in my bills that I get every month, and the app should suggest to me on what dates of the month, if I start paying my bills, I will be able to pay all the bills at the shortest amount of time. What I mean is, let's say I have 3 bills, and the payment dates for each of them are different. I want a suggestion from the app saying, if you pay your bills on this day, you can finish that work in one day. So that's the goal of this app. Also, another reason I have discussed this in the Home Lab series is I don't want to put this data online. And I'm sure there are tools that will help you to gather data from your bills, from your accounts, but this is very, very confidential data, and I just want to keep it at my local home setup. That's how the home labs are also started coming in, all the way from infrastructure all the way to application. That's how I decide what I want to build. Also, it gives me that flexibility of learning what I want. I just choose a topic and then decide based on what makes most sense, create a project around it. So hopefully I'm good on time. Not sure what time is it? Yeah, 15 minutes. So that's good. Second topic, right? So other topic was create content related to things that are hard to find, which I think I'm already doing. So I think we're good. Um, I want to create content for a couple of topics. One of them is using Linux as a daily driver. Um, this is something that I've seen. I do follow Linus Tech Tips, so I really enjoyed his series about how they want to try out gaming and using Linux as a daily driver. I've been doing it for almost since college, so almost 8 to 9 years now, and I've still stuck with Ubuntu. Even though I've tried out things like Fedora, Pop OS, what else? I have not still tried Arch. Might on someday, but um, I enjoy using Ubuntu. It's pretty simple, and most of the things that you use in what I use in my machine is also kind of translated into what I do at work, right? About creating Docker containers. You'll see Ubuntu is probably the most Ubuntu and its package manager apt-get is probably the most commonly used tools in the container space. So that also gives you sort of learning points from your regular usage into your work. So that's good. So yeah, I want to create content around Linux, which is the second, which is the upcoming video, which I didn't publish because I ended up doing the live stream. So I think sometime next week, and then content around photography, which I've discussed a lot. The reason I still haven't posted anything about my photography and travel in general is because um, I want to keep the direction of this channel a little bit clear. Right now, I think I've focused mostly on coding. But if I think about content on YouTube, it makes more sense. At least when I consume content, I want to relax a little bit. I've definitely seen a lot of or consumed a lot of content related to coding and programming, but I end up watching just fun videos. So I want to create stuff around photography, but I think that's going to be probably around shorts is what makes most sense if I do end up creating content around photography. Cool. Next thing that I want to talk about is this payobills app, right? So let's do some live coding here. Let me reduce the font a little bit. And one thing that I want to talk about is especially the work that I've done on CI, um, on the continuous integration part. So let me bring in the browser here. Cool. Oops. Yeah. So if you look at this project, what I described is again everything that's in the README, and yeah. So the thing that I've done probably only in this app is I've decided that I want to use a microservices based architecture, and I want to follow best practices when using monorepo. If these terms seem odd to you or new to you, that's fine. What I mean is all the different parts of the application stay in one repository as opposed to having them split into multiple repositories. Another thing is microservices. So if you do uh, end up wanting to read about them, this is probably the best site to look at. And probably the way to go if you're going to work on server-side technologies. That's a good thing. Um, And next, so the thing on the stuff that I've done on CI, which I've been wanting to do, is because I have parts of the application that are technically supposed to be deployed at different times. I've used this tool called Please Build. Again, something that I want to cover in the monorepo series that I started writing about on Medium, but never got to part two because it took me such a long time to get to deciding what application I want to build to start using it. I've decided this is probably the best way to talk more about it, and also for me to learn more about this general sort of build systems. And Please Build is exactly that. It's a very general purpose build system which helps you build any sort of app. And here in this specific scenario, I'm building Docker images and deploying them onto my home lab. So if you look at it, everything from source control to test, build to deploy is on my local machine. That's how these all the different things that I'm doing kind of connect together. Um, all right, so let me go back and show you what I meant by the testing that I've done, and yeah, ignore the things that have failed because I was trying out a lot of things yesterday. So in this example, I have three different microservices now. Think about microservices as very specific servers doing specific things. One of them is the UI, the front end of the app. Ideally, it should be a website, but because I'm deploying it locally, it's fine to just deploy it in server. So it's rendered on the server. Second is an API that helps me to gather my bills. This will also take in the PDFs or HTML files that I get in my email um, from various places where I get bills, right? And the third one is a service that helps me calculate payments for these bills. So right now, these are the three parts, and I haven't even begun writing logic for most of them. They are basically boilerplates at this point. But what I'm doing in CI is whenever I change code for any of the services, I get in my pull request. So let's see, let's pick the one where I changed a couple of services. Yeah, let's do this one. So here I changed one service, which is bills. And the reason I found this out is how the CI behaves. So in the background, whenever there's a new pull request coming in, Please Build will check, and it uses hashes to check the what has changed. So I decide what should be the diff. So I start from my current branch, go back to the place where this pull request is eventually going to end up. So for example, let's say develop, and then based on those diff, I decide what services has changed. Another reason we're doing this is ideally you shouldn't be changing a lot of things in one PR. So the end result would be I would ask the user who has, or rather show the user who has opened a PR that you should probably that make sure you know what you're doing. You don't want to change code for a lot of services. So I'll show that as a warning on the PR. Right now, I just show what is the next version that we're calculating. I'll get to versioning in a later bit, but right now I'm just showing what has changed, and probably also show them a warning about you're making changes to all of these services. So just be sure that ideally don't change a lot of stuff in one PR. So basically enforcing standards on project is also something I can do with this tool that I'm building. Currently, it's already everything is in this repository, and I will be extracting this out into a different project that can be used as a library of sorts in GitHub Actions, or we'll decide if I can get it working with different CI/CD providers. Anyway, versioning, right? So because I know what services have changed, I can also I have the Git history. I can decide how to calculate the next version of these services. And what I'm using is Git version to do this. Not sure if, yeah, this one. So this is a pretty famous tool that generates semantic versioning. Again, this was also covered in a very basic fashion in one of the videos that I did. Um, but yeah, I use this, and this works fairly well if you just have one service per repository. It gets really messy if it doesn't understand how to calculate multiple things changing in one repository. So I've made that happen. All I need to do is put it in a different repository for anybody else to use as a third party GitHub action. So still work in progress there, but that's fine. Exactly. So now I get versioning information and the impact surface, as I'm calling it, about what has been changed in the PR. So these are some things that I wanted to do in the CI part, which was really interesting. In terms of just regular microservices architecture, I wanted to cover this part, which was creating loosely coupled microservices. And there's this great article about this. I think it's like a talk that was given at um Skills Matter Cloud Native Exchange. But if you look at the slides and the video, it explains really well how important microservices are for creating very robust applications these days. So I want to take these design principles and also try to put that into my payabills app. Um, and if you see at the end of it all, I will get a progressive web app, which will help me do all the billing and manage my accounts and stuff. And none of that data is outside. Everything is either on my phone encrypted or on my home lab encrypted. So that's the end goal. Cool. And obviously, I'm going to be making videos about this. This is not just what I don't want to just talk about code on a live stream. We'll make very specific parts of this as different videos in the probably in the home lab or in monorepo series. So that's good. What else? Um, Very general sort of topic that I wanted to answer or talk about was how should you learn things? So, um, let's say you're starting off at a place where you have already done some development for, let's say, web, because that's probably the most common place where people start development. Now, what you want to make sure is you don't get into that idea of knowing one framework for a long, long time. Uh, be a generalist. I think that would be my biggest suggestion towards anybody who's doing coding. Don't get into frameworks. Get into concepts. Once you know a concept, it's much easier to understand the bigger picture. If you think about web, the first thing that comes to people's mind, I think, is React. And when I used to do React, I remember that it puts your mind in a very React specific sense. What I mean is you start thinking about the web through React, which is not a very ideal thing to do because React will change and it has changed over the years. Lots of improvements have come in, but still the web APIs have pretty much stayed the same. And slowly these have been adopted into frameworks which allow you to do eventually the same thing, which is call into web APIs and do stuff on the web page, right? So be a generalist, think about the concept that you're working with. Then for any project, choose a programming language or a framework based on what feels right for one for performance and other for ease of use across your team. It's highly unlikely that you're going to be working alone. So, and if you are, then you have the option to experiment as well. So try out new things. You never know what you might like. So and about learning a framework, first thing that you want to do is just do a brief rundown of its documentation. You don't have to read it like a book. Just skim through it and then try it out on a very simple project, and then get a baseline understanding of it, and then you can learn more parts of it as you use it. Um, that is probably my biggest suggestion about how to learn things. It's already half an hour, so probably the longest live stream I've done so far, and things haven't crashed yet, so that's good. No power backup today, so looks like the live stream gods have been good. Another thing, let's say now I actually don't have anything else that I want to talk about, so let's get into some live coding, right? That I did promise in the post. So let's see if we can get something in. Yeah, I think rather than live coding, I want to show off please build. Um, so let's see. I have a Kubernetes cluster running. Unfortunately, this is not the home lab. Currently, all the deployment that I've been doing to test out this app is on this same machine. And the good part is I've reused the um, home lab repository, the K3s molecule that I talked about in that video, to set up Kubernetes on this machine, and it worked really well. I didn't expect it to work, but it did, so that's great. And now basically I have that confidence to take that molecule as sort of a piece of code that I could use on any machine that I want to set up Kubernetes on. So that worked really well. Right, so let's see here. So I have cloned the am I sharing the screen here? Nope. So let me move myself, and yeah. So if I've cloned the repository here, and if I show you, let's open up VS Code, yeah. So I have the same structure. What I've decided is anything that I want to keep common, things like the Docker files, things like Kubernetes Helm charts are going to be in the common part. Anything that can be deployed is an app, which is in bills, payments, or UI. The three things that I've been working on till now. And I hope this font size is large, but still probably going to zoom a little bit. So now let's say you want to use, we're not going to be talking about deploying it as uh, production sort of scale. We're talking about only development time now. So let's say I want to work on the UI. So I'll do please run apps, which is the structure, the path to get to apps, and then local. And then what it does is it did a lot of things. It created a Helm chart and it deployed it to this cluster, which is connected with the current kube config, right? And if I take a look at the cluster, UI is running. Let's probably delete it and then do it again. So I'll just delete the namespace itself. And the logs are attached actually here. So let's close that for now and give you a fresh experience on how I would do things, or any developer, how they would get into this app. So that's going to take a while. So let's create a new tab and do it. So please run apps UI local, and that creates a temporary Helm charts in a temporary location that you as a user don't have to worry about, and then deploys the the other part is still destroyed. Cool. Let me run it again. So now it's saying that the container is starting and it's running. We'll take a look at it. It's just a unoptimized Node.js image where I'm doing Svelte internally uses Veth, so it's using Veth, and I'm just doing npm run dev. And now the service is up. There is an error, but ignore that for now. Let's open up. Oh yeah, the way to get to the UI is if you look at each app also deploys a service. So if you take a look at this, because this is dev time, it's fine to expose things as node ports. So I'm exposing each service as on the port 30,000, 30,001, so incrementing one by one. So now if I go to localhost 30,000, my UI should be up. So let's try that out, and it is. You can see the bills fetching part isn't working, which is because the service isn't up, right? So let's do that next. Please run apps bills local, which again created a new Helm chart, deployed the service behind the scenes, and it is on 30,001. So if you want to hit the server directly, that's the only reason I'm exposing this, and it's still starting up. But the main reason, but you don't have to actually use the build service directly. Ideally, I'll be placing a gateway between my UI and every other service to communicate. But if you want to test it out, it's easier to do it if the service is directly exposed. So for testing purposes, this is fine. Let's check the logs if that is still available. So looks like it is. Let's refresh this, and the data is available now. So for storing data, I'm using SQLite at this moment because I don't have a Postgres server on the home lab. I will install it at some point. But for now, it's just a SQLite file that is placed in this gitignore folder under data. So here, if you want to add things directly to this SQLite file, that will show up in the app. So one thing that I decided that I'll change later on is the add bill part, which is right now, if you see, I as a user have to tell the app when the billing cycle is happening. What I've decided to do going further is to actually, if I upload a bill, that bill already has this data about when it was generated and when is the time to pay. So I'll probably just end up showing UI which says just upload your bill here, and then the app will figure out all the details. Also, this is a very mobile sort of UI. If I go to the desktop UI, it just looks very weird, but my idea is to use it on a phone, so I don't think I'll be designing the desktop view this early into the app. The third part is the payments, which is again very simple to run. Again, just change the app name to payments, and then it creates the Helm chart. The reason this is so fast is because I'm just mounting the source code onto a bare non-Alpine SDK of the programming languages that the code uses. So here in payments, it's a Nest.js app, so it's just a node image. Here for bills, it's just a .NET 6 API, so it's just a .NET SDK image. For UI, again, it's node. That's why it's able to create those Helm charts so quickly. But these are not production ready, right? This is only for dev time. So if I take a look at, and this is K9S, by the way, if you're wondering what this UI is. So here, if you see, payments is also up and running. Now it doesn't really have anything. If I only thing I have just one health check. That's it. So what I'll be doing is making a gateway, and then there'll be some sort of an async communication channel, probably like either Kafka or RabbitMQ. I've used Kafka in the past, so I think I'll probably try it out in a more controlled fashion because I have all the I have the freedom to do whatever I want. So I'll try out probably Kafka on this. And about the runtime images, So if you see in the CI, I was creating builds for each of these services, and those builds, what they were doing was running the Docker label. I'll cover please build in another video in much more detail. So not getting into the intricacies of this. So all I have to do, not sure if payments has the Docker image, but let's try it out. The production Docker image. So now, right now it's preparing the context for that Docker image. I don't even have the Docker ignore set up, so I think that's why it's taking a lot of time. It is trying to tarball the source code, and then that is getting passed. I think I might have added the node modules as well. Let's see. So created the tarball for the source code, and then put that into context. So all of that is hidden inside this please outs directory. Once it has the context, I've also passed in that general common Docker file that it needs to build the app. That way, I don't have to maintain Docker files for each service. Rather, I have a very standardized way of creating images for each of the services. And if I show you that file, it's like I have one for Svelte. Yeah, I was working on Docker ignore. So yeah, one for Svelte, one for Node service, but actually it's Nest.js to be precise, and one for a .NET API. Reason I'm choosing one statically typed language and one dynamic is not dynamic but Node is because the Node part will be good for doing IO specific things like writing and reading those bill PDF files. Whereas any sort of compute that I want to do to calculate different things, a statically typed language is probably the way to go because .NET also has multi-threading, so it will be good to calculate all of these different bills that I'm going to end up putting in. I think I have like I've stored everything from almost 4 or 5 years ago, so I think I should be able to get a lot of data and create various sort of dashboards from this. Apart from payabills specifically, because I want to get into cloud native, I have decided I want to do things on the cloud native side of things, which is monitoring and alerting. So there's this website, not sure if it is open here, which is called openapm.io. It's a great website to see what are the various tools that you can use to get data from your apps, data in the sense performance data, and then a way to crunch these data into valuable dashboards that you want to visualize, and then create alerts on that dashboard to probably send out emails. I'll probably most likely end up just sending email, which makes the most amount of sense. So I've decided a lot of tools available, but I've heard mostly about on the infra side things about Prometheus. So probably try that out, Prometheus or Thanos, and heard a bit about OpenTelemetry and Jaeger. Still not decided which one to go for. See whichever is easier, I guess. And about transport, yeah, I think probably Kafka is a great tool. And for dashboards, I've seen Grafana. I think from all the talks that I've attended and seen online. So Grafana is probably what I want to try. If you have not seen the home lab setup, I'll link it in the description. But I have Grafana set up. As I was setting this up, I also broke a couple of things, but I can still show it to you. There's no data at this point. Oops, yep, here. I wanted to query data from Thanos, which isn't working for some reason. But if I show the dashboard, I want to see, right now there's no data, but right now I could see everything that's happening on the node, which is just the Raspberry Pi. and on some sort of a different dashboard, see performance of each of the different apps that I've installed. I want to have one page for payabills specifically. So that is the end goal. I know it's a lot of stuff that I probably talked about in what 15 minutes, but there are going to be more clearer videos that I want to make on each of these topics, and that is the reason why I decided to do a live stream where we can talk in general, but getting into it into nitty-gritties is what I want to do for actual videos that are going to be coming up on the channel. So I think that is it. Let me check if in case there are any chats. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll be making this video available later. If I want to cut something out, I probably will. But uh, I don't think you've missed anything. Anything that I've talked about in this video that I want to talk about more in detail, we'll have clearer videos going forward. So no issues there at all. To summarize, I think I'd say learn the concepts first, then get into frameworks. Try and use Linux. Don't switch to it. That's not what I'm asking you to do, but just give it a try. And what else? Yeah, skim through documentation first before you try out anything. That's probably the easiest way to learn things. This was really fun. I hope I was deciding if I want to do this on Twitch or YouTube, but I think because I'm on YouTube, makes more sense to just do it here. I want to discuss more about any further live streams that I'll be doing, hopefully next Sunday, where I'll do more live coding rather than talking. That's what I want to end up doing, because even only in live stream do you get very weird specific bugs that you can learn from. So that's the end goal here. Hopefully you had a great time. Definitely be sure to like this video and comment if you have any suggestions. And what else? Yeah, if you want to create more or talk about more specific you want me to talk about more specific topics, definitely leave them in the comments, and take a look at all the different videos that I had created before, because I talked about them kind of why I made them. But if you want to see all of those, they are also in a different playlist on this channel. So thanks for tuning in. Let me just quickly see if there's any new chat. Okay. Yeah, let's see if I get into Arch at some point. Yeah. Great. So hopefully you had a great time. It's Sunday, so time to party, I guess. So see you on the next one.